guys, here we go. The second stop in the North Carolina division of the BFL. This one is on High Rock Lake. And there was a little concern of me being boat number 62, whether or not I would be able to get on my first area. But thankfully, to my surprise, there were no boats there, and the bait fish was clearly still there. You can see that the bait fish were getting pushed up on the bank, and there were some bass that were corralling them, presumably bass, white bass, as well as crappie that were corralling them. So we settled into the spot, and we threw a myriad of moving baits, and probably should have spent more time with the moving baits, particularly the crankbait. But I think I gave it only like 2 casts and then put it down. Now, this area definitely is all about timing. You know, the bass are only coming up in waves to kind of corral the bait fish, feed, and then kind of move back out. But sadly, I threw the crankbait maybe twice. I put it down and started finesse fishing, as well as fishing, you know, a jig and, you know, bottom bouncers. Now, this particular fish I caught on the Riot Baits probe, which is kind of my panic lure. It is the lure that I know no matter where I am, no matter what lake, I can put that thing on and I will catch bass. So I threw it out there. I believe it was the money color I was using, which is a green pumpkin sapphire blue flake on one side, and then a black and blue flake on the other side. So great color on almost any body of water. Threw it out there, and sure enough, while it was sitting still, a bass thumped it. I waited a moment, set the hook, and boated my first one, which was a nice 3-pound fish. Now, if you saw my practice video, you'll probably recognize this spot. And you'll also remember that there was a shoreline fisherman that had kind of pulled up and seen what was going on and decided to throw his bucket down right where I was fishing. And, you know, obviously that is super frustrating, but since it was a practice day and, you know, it is a public lake, I just kind of left it alone. And, you know, I was obviously a little shooken up about it, and I was definitely concerned about Saturday and how it would play out. But again, you know, I settled in the hopes that the guy would not come back.
And better.
Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and you actually hear my co-angler mention to me that there was 2 shoreline fishermen that were approaching, and sure enough, 2 guys rolled up on us, and their intentions were clear. They were going to fish right on top of where we were fishing.
And that just scares them, you know, it pushes them off. Yeah, we're in a tournament. Huh? We're in a tournament. We're trying to catch those bass. I know you guys are trying to go for those crappie.
Yeah, we're in a tournament too.
Yeah.
What did he just say?
Yeah, we're in a tournament too.
Now, I think all of us recognize that this can go one of 2 different ways. Now, I've been a shoreline fisherman before, so I know exactly how these guys were feeling. You know, ultimately, they've got a spot, a singular spot where they feel like, hey, I can catch fish here. And there's limited shoreline on all these lakes in North Carolina for shoreline fishermen. And, you know, they rolled up, and there's this privileged dude in a boat who's basically calling them off, saying, you know, sorry. And that was processing through my head. And, you know, I was kind of just settling in and kind of deciding, like, how should I handle this? What is the best way? And ultimately, it seemed like we were just kind of at a standoff. And what was actually happening was these guys had decided, hey, let this guy fish for a while. And then, you know, they knew that at some point I was going to move. So ultimately, I feel like I made the right decision by just kind of allowing the situation to dissipate, not being reactive, not being having a knee-jerk reaction and responding with hostility. Instead, you know, the guys spoke amongst themselves and they decided to hold off on fishing. As a matter of fact, they walked back up to the road And they waited patiently for us, knowing that we would ultimately have to leave. And that was incredibly courteous on their part. But that was a high tension, high anxiety situation that certainly could have gone either way. But just by keeping a level head, we didn't allow it to derail the day.
Okay, rain pass over though. Looks like it might.
Yeah, we might get lucky. I have a feeling we'll get some raindrops though.
Yeah.
These fish apparently think that so because they're not pushing the bait up anymore. They're still here though. I can see them on the graph coming up under the boat and stuff.
My partner and I fished for about 15 minutes, and I don't know if it was the tension and anxiety we were feeling, but I don't think either one of us was really feeling the spot anymore. It could have been a timing deal. We could have waited it out, but I just felt like we needed a change of scenery. We thanked them for being courteous. We thanked them for being patient, and gave them the spot. And we just moved on down the riprap a little bit further.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope you guys catch a couple good ones too. Just save a few for us later.
And it wasn't 2 minutes later before the skies just opened up.
Is that rain? Oh, we're about to get hosed, dude. Oh my God.
And guys, this is where I'm going to disappoint you, because my GoPro is not waterproof when it is on continuous power. So at this moment, when this rain hits, I stowed my GoPro in my boat and I failed to take it out again. And it was our very next spot that we went to that I was able to boat a 3+ pounder. My co-angler was able to bust a 3+ pounder. And we caught a series of fish, most of them shorts. I think my co-angler had one small keeper and I had another 3-pound class fish. But it was a while before I put that GoPro back on the front of the boat. And sadly, when I did, there was just no significant footage gathered. No other fish catches other than more shorts. So that was our day. So my 3 fish gave me 9.8 pounds for the tournament, putting me in 39th place, which, isn't great. Anytime you don't catch a limit, it kind of sucks. It's certainly something that we strive for as anglers in tournaments, is to catch 5 fish, and I failed to do that. So a little bit of disappointment, but I am proud of how I handled that situation with those guys on the shore.
I hope those guys caught fish.
But admittedly, I hope they didn't catch any more than I caught. No, in all realness, guys, I hope that illustrates how we should, as stewards of the sport of fishing, should treat each other. As you saw in that video, I was pretty angry initially, and I vocalized that frustration to my co-angler, but not to these 2 gentlemen on the shore. Once I took a breath, I think I handled the situation appropriately, and I think all of us were just better for it. We walked away having some mutual respect for each other. And I think that's really the lesson and the takeaway from this whole event. So, and that's just it. That was the BFL for me on High Rock Lake. Wasn't a great tournament, but wasn't a bad one either. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I apologize, guys. I apologize that I shut down the GoPro. I'll try to be better about that, and I'll try to figure out some way to waterproof that camera when it's on continuous power, so we don't run into these issues again. But that's it. I'm Matt Stark, guys, and we'll see you out on the water.
I hope those guys
Stark,
caught fish.
And I hope to see you
in
guys
the end
out on the water.
It probably did affect the outcome of the tournament.